So I've been living in Japan for about 6 months, and one of the things that happened to me, which I think is a pretty good story, was the fact that I got diagnosed with cancer while I was here, and so I had to do all of my surgeries in Japan. This is coming from Canada, where usually Canada's pretty good with healthcare. It's free. Um, Everyone can get it, but you have to wait a long time, like a few years. In Canada, if you have something wrong with you, you have to wait like 6 months to see a doctor. And some Canadians still don't even have a family doctor because they're in such high demand. So to start from the beginning, I came to Japan in April 2024, and I did a healthcare test, like a general well-being test, before I came to Japan. It was part of the visa requirement, and they said it was fine. And then one of the things that they did was take a little patch of skin and test it for melanoma. They said it's nothing to worry about. It was just standard, and that was basically all I heard. Now, just to even get this test in Canada, I had to wait 6 months. I booked it in 2023 in, I want to say, September. And then I finally got in January 2024. And that was just to see my family doctor. And then in March 2024, I got the skin test done. And then April, I left for Japan. In June of 2024. So I'm in Japan for 3 months. Finally, the Canadian doctors get back to me and tell me I have skin cancer, melanoma to be exact, and that I need to either fly back and get the surgery done ASAP or get the surgery done in Japan. But they said it's something that shouldn't be held off. I shouldn't wait. I need to do it immediately. And so this was kind of a shock to me. I mean, at least they found it. That's good, but it took so long to find it. It's kind of crazy. And then they're trying to rush me back home, even though it's their fault for taking so long. So that was kind of a shock. I said, okay, I'm going to get the surgery in Japan. I have a Japanese kind of like medical card. Basically, it covers 70% of the cost. I only have to pay 30%. So Japanese healthcare system is pretty good. The hospitals are very nice. Nobody spoke English, but we managed to get by. You know, they speak a little bit of English. I speak a little bit of Japanese, and we can make it work. After I was diagnosed, I went to a Japanese walk-in clinic, which then they recommended me to a Japanese hospital that specializes in skin cancer. That has doctors that specialize in skin cancer, I should say. Since it's not very common in Japan, this apparently melanoma is like a Caucasian disease, I learned. Japanese people just don't get it. I ended up going there in probably July, was my first hospital visit, and they took some samples. Next up in August, they ended up booking my surgery. So the samples came back. The samples they took around the Canadian sample were perfectly fine. It was just regular moles, so those were fine. And now they needed to treat the one that the Canadian doctor said was melanoma. And so for them to do that, they had to cut open. I'll show some pictures here. They had to cut open like under my armpit and remove the melanoma under my skin. So they had to remove the skin cancer. Thank God we caught it early. It was just stage 1. So I ended up being fine. Now it's just like constant checkups every 3 to 6 months. And so for the cost, for these hospital visits, each one, depending on each hospital visit probably cost me around $50 Canadian. I went a few times. Total was probably about $500 or $600 I paid for like the X-rays, the small surgeries, and then finally the big surgery to remove the cancer. So compared to Canada, that would have been free, but I probably would have had to wait a lot longer. What I liked about the Japanese system was like everything they set the date, like so they took the first sample and they're like, okay, come back in 3 weeks and we'll have the results. We already have your date ready, so you're gonna come back this day at this time. They already said it. It's just like 3 weeks compared to Canada where it's like 3 months. It's like or 6 months. So that was way better in my opinion. And then, so the total process, I went for my first consultation in June, and now it's September 2024, and I'm done with my cancer surgery. So June, July, September, 3 months, cancer is gone. And now it's just simple follow-ups. And the cost $400 to $500. Comparing that to Canada, it would have been completely free, but I probably would have had to wait 1 to 2 years. That's the honest truth about the Canadian healthcare system. I dislocated both my shoulders, and I'm still on a wait list to get this shoulder surgery. I've dislocated this one 5 times and dislocated this one once, and they'll put it back in, but then they like mark you down for a surgery, and that surgery just never came for me. COVID happened, and the wait time got longer, and they just never called me. For people who think Canada's healthcare is great. So yeah, that's the story of the foreigner in a Japanese hospital experience. It was way better than I expected. I mean, I knew Japanese had good healthcare compared to most countries. The Japanese lifespan's good. The hospitals are nice. They're new. They're technologically advanced. The doctors are really smart and friendly. They take photos of everything, which was kind of cool. Like every single step of the way, they took photos, which is kind of different than the Canadian side. So yeah, that's just a quick video on a foreigner's perspective of the Japanese healthcare system. And if you're interested in that, please subscribe for more.